Every so often, we get cases or we experience something in our careers that define us. And when we experience these type of moments in our lives, we get a smorgasbord of people who want to know exactly what we did in our careers, how do we experience certain things, and what do we do. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about an experience I had. I'm going to have my brother break it down of an in custody death.
What the theory is, some people call it low-hanging fruit, but it's actually not. It's when you crack down on loud music, littering, loitering, or whatever. And a lot of people are like, well, it doesn't matter, but it really does. Okay, that's how you control and stop crimes from getting bigger.
Ambo's already at the hospital. I'm getting there in pursuit. I come into the garage and I see the EMS coming out. And I said, how's he doing? He said, he's dead.
Now we got this thing where the teachers' hands are tied and they're being kicked, spit on, whatever. And now we've taken that same attitude towards law enforcement. And now they're encouraging people to fight law enforcement, to run from law enforcement. And we've got absolute chaos. And no matter what these people have done, if the officer takes action, everything they've done is erased out the window, and now the officer is the villain.
Hill of Justice is sponsored and produced by Jermaine Delmas Studios. Every so often, we get cases or we experience something in our careers that define us. And certainly that is no different for me as it is for my brother. And when we experience these type of moments in our lives, we get a smorgasbord of people who want to know exactly what we did in our careers, how do we experience certain things, and what do we do. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about an experience I had. I'm going to have my brother break it down of an in custody death that occurred while I was I was doing some type of crime suppression. I won't go ahead and name particularly the city, but you'll probably get a good idea on it. I'm Jerome Hill. With me is retired Sheriff Victor Hill. So quite some time ago, years ago, rather, we decided to go ahead and do crime suppression at night. And basically this was predicated on the fact that the then governor, his name was, the then city mayor at the time was by the name of Martin O'Malley. He was trying to be a governor hopeful. And his idea of getting tough on crime was to go ahead and do crime suppression on basically, little petty things. Basically, I want to go ahead and put it on it.
Quality
and
of
so,
life.
Yeah, quality of life stuff. So at that point in time,
Which I agree with, by the way, but keep going.
Okay. So do you agree with that stuff? Okay.
I agree with quality of life, and I'll tell you why, but go ahead.
So explain a little bit about the quality of life for other people that don't understand, because, I'll tell you what we were doing, but what are some of the thoughts you have?
Well, quality of life is what the theory is. Some people call it low-hanging fruit, but it's actually not. It's when you crack down on loud music, littering, loitering, or whatever. And a lot of people are like, well, it doesn't matter, but it really does. Okay, that's how you control and stop crimes from getting bigger. Like, for instance, if you want to deal with gangs, then you're kind of dealing with gang behavior. What do gangs do? They may have a certain spot that they hang out in front of. Well, if they hang out in front of that spot, they're usually involved in selling drugs or harassing people or whatever. Or if they get into skirmishes, someone might do a drive-by shooting in order to shoot them. By keeping those streets clean, by enforcing stuff like loitering, not lottery. But by enforcing that stuff, well, they can't get shot because they're not there. They can't deal drugs. They can't harass people going into stores because you're constantly enforcing the loitering codes.
Right.
you'd be surprised by enforcing things like loud music. A lot of people, it's a nuisance and people don't like it, but you'd be surprised how many people my deputies pulled over and they were wanted or the car was stolen. And one time, a car stop for loud music, he had a warrant on him for murder.
Mm.
So by enforcing those type of quality of life things, you can suppress the crime from going bigger and make it harder for the people who are involved in other crimes to operate. Because usually, for some reason, they're operating and stuff like that. It keeps the streets quiet. It keeps it clean. It's not a bad thing. It's a strategy that I've used, and it was very, very effective.
And for me, I didn't like it. And the reason is because I already was a narcotics unit and I was already detective, and they were pulling our resources and some of the high end cases that we were working on to get off that to deal with this quality of life issue that the new that the mayor wanted to have for us, so he can go ahead and build those numbers up to become governor and to show a prowess, if you will. And
Right. Oh no, keep going. I got to
no, go
argue to
ahead.
that too.
Oh yeah.
Sure.
So
Okay, go ahead.
yeah, because I didn't appreciate taking us away from where we were going to hammer, an entire district of yoo-hoos who were out there doing a whole bunch of stuff and trying to break us down to doing quality of life. But you have an opinion about that.
Right. Well, those yoo-hoos are usually involved in that stuff. And sometimes when you stop them for live music, littering, laundering, whatever, you're going to catch them with drugs anyway. But remember this. A lot of people think the best way to fight drugs is to get the kingpin or to get the high-level drug dealers off the street. Uh, well, if that truly worked, we shouldn't have drugs here now because there's a lot of kingpins in jail right now. Some that I saw there or whatever, and there was more drugs. There's just as much or not more drugs in prison as there is on the street. So if that was actually effective by, hey, we're taking drug deals off the street, then we wouldn't see the amount of drugs that we're still seeing today. Now, when you reverse it, let me tell you what was another effective way. Now, the most effective way is controlling the territory. I'll talk about that in a second. But they did an experiment where instead of going after the drug dealer, go after the drug users, and it dried up. There was no one left to come buy drugs, and they kind of worked themselves from the bottom to the top.
I'm glad you said that.
Now let me say this:
Mm-hmm.
there is an argument with that I may agree with. The users are some people who need help. Some ain't even trying to get help. But ultimately, the best way to fight drugs, the soundproof way, is occupation. Is what we used to do. I put a sheriff's car in front of the house of selling drugs, light flashing, 24 hours a day. The crackheads see it, they leave.
Mm-hmm.
They can't operate. So that's no different than blocking the drive-through window of McDonald's. If they can't sell Big Macs, they're gonna go out of business. So it kills a lot of stones. Okay, first it makes the neighborhood safe because you don't have all these crackheads in and out. You don't have the drive-by shootings. You don't have this. The drug dealer, if he got any sense, he just got a deal because even though he's not making money, he's also not going to prison, which they're saying that they were giving out an enormous amount of time for that. So that's the best way to control the territory where they can't even sell the drugs and then they move on someplace else. But taking the kingpins here and there and whatever like that and doing these 3 month drug investigations while you're doing that, people getting shot and killed. And then when you take this guy off the street, somebody's thanking you because they're going to come in and take their place.
You're not wrong. I mean, the fact of the matter is that goes on. You're grabbing a bunch of detectives and you're putting them into crime suppression. And as it turns out in this case, I agree with you. Those things could probably work, particularly in Clayton County. I'm not quite sure it works in a large city, like a drug infested one, like the
It
one we have.
works everywhere. You just got to have the manpower. That's why you see them pulling in the National Guard or whatever. If you go into an area, it's easier to do in a city block area because it's easier to control city blocks than it is to control a suburban area like Clayton County, where I was sheriff. Where you were at in Baltimore, you give me enough cops and you're dealing with city blocks, I can lock that down. road checks. First, let me know where the drug spots are at. Everybody knows where they're at. Everybody can tell you, they sell drugs over there. And to me, I thought that says a lot about law enforcement leadership. If everyone on that street know the drugs is there, if the beat cops know the drugs is there, how's the drugs still there? How they're still operating every day? And all you got to do is checkmate them by putting a car in front of there 24/7 where they can't operate. And then if you know how it's moving a certain way, if you got cars sitting there with you don't even have to do a road check now, because with the flock cameras and the tag readers, anything coming through that's suspended, wanted, or whatever is going to hit. So you strategically put that stuff there, nothing can move. And that's easier for me to block down a square city block than it is a suburban area. I'm going to tell you what it is. Guys like you high speed cops, you narcotics guys, you don't like that little enforcement stuff. You like to go after the bad guys. You want shootouts, and I understand that because I had a lot of deputies like you. These are high speed guys. They don't want to be giving tickets for loud music. They don't want to be stopping folks for loitering. They want to hit doors. But if you look at it strategically from the chessboard strategy, it's time and tested and proven to fight crime.
I don't disagree with what you're saying. I have a fundamental disagreement with you about this, particularly for a city like that is so sophisticated, and we're wanting guys like you in power so they could go ahead and throw up their soldiers to go get it slaughtered, much like Russia is doing in Ukraine. They have a bunch of people who are ready to go ahead and go into the slaughter so they could go ahead and take our manpower, switch it over there. And thus it leaves a vacuum over here. And then, yes, you're going to get the massive, selling of drugs. You're going to get the violence. You're going to go ahead and get an uneven type of law enforcement on there. And the reason why I bring all that stuff up is that Martin O'Malley, he was deciding to do something like this. And I'm on, and of course, I much like you said, I really didn't want to go ahead and do this type of stuff. So I'm sitting in
The
a
stuff that works is boring and it doesn't work for cops like you. I get that. When I had cops sitting in front of drug cops, they hated it, but it worked. But go ahead.
So I'm sitting in a vehicle, just biding my time, waiting for something to happen. You know what I mean? And there's no quality of life issue coming out. Now in the alleyway, what I did see was, I'm going to say for better use of words, I saw a cat go in there, and I'm just using street euphemism for a guy going into the alleyway.
Okay, I'm glad you said that because I thought you was talking about Luna or actual cat, but go ahead.
No. We weren't talking about Luna. And although Luna would fit well doing that.
Right.
And thus, that cat went back there, and as you know, it's rapid hand-to-hand transactions. You got somebody who is basically doing the transactions. You have your lookers. You have your people who have the heat ready to go ahead and do damage. And it's a whole big operation just to let people know, any one of those corners can make $70, $80, $90,000 a week, turning out a 24-hour a day, 7-day a week operation. It is that sophisticated. And I'm talking about, 3 teams, sets of drug dealers having a lieutenant for each and every one of them. So we're dealing with that. And the guy comes out of the alleyway. Now it's in evening time. So no problem. Guess what? I get out my vehicle. I pull up to him. I was like, "Hey, what's up, Cat? What you got going on?" And he was like, "Not." I announced myself, let him know who I am. And I said, "Hey, you wouldn't happen to have anything on you, would you?" He's like, "No, man." I was like, "Dude, do you have anything on me?" He was like, I said, "All right, I'm going to search you. Just going to search you." Now, I want the lawyers to come in because obviously some lawyers will go ahead and say that once I did this Terry stop, I may have violated this guy's civil rights. So if there are any lawyers out there, please comment below in regards to what happened. So I searched the guy, and sure enough, he had 2 gel caps of heroin on him in his pocket. I let him know, hey, is there anything else that's going to poke me, stick me, or anything like that? Because in the city that large, what you got to really worry about is getting stuck by a hypodermic needle, catching HIV, hepatitis C, and so on and so forth. And so he said he didn't have nothing on him. And so I had him sit down, cross his legs in front of him, and had him keep his hands where I could see them. And I asked him, "What are you doing? What are you doing? You know, you know, I can't let you go here tonight, guy." He's like, "Why not? This ain't nothing." I said, "I know it ain't nothing, but mayor wants us to handle business tonight. You got to go." And he is mad. And so I said, I called in for a wagon to come. So I'm waiting for the wagon to come, and I had another conversation for you. Well, come on, man. You too old for this. And he was like, "Oh, man. All right, man. I'll let you know what happened." I was like, "What?" He was like, "Me and my girlfriend was going to party, and she one's for her, one's for me. And, she told me if I get one for her, obviously she was going to suck my dick." I was like, "All right, not tonight, Cap. It ain't going to happen tonight. Sorry about that." So the wagon was coming around the corner. And of course, the wagon guy, he's driving at the same time, fixing up what is considered plastic handcuffs for a lot of people, but they're flexi cuffs. That's basically what they are. And he's putting it outside the window so I can grab it, so I can put it on this guy. And so as he's handing it to me, he was like, "Oh shit, he's running." And sure enough, that dude gets up and starts bolting through.
2 questions. How old is this guy? And
Well, I'm going to let you know.
Handcuffs on. Okay, go ahead.
Right. I'm gonna let you know.
Okay.
And so he starts going through, some yards into an alleyway and makes it onto the main road. And the problem I had, Keith, right away, is when I'm chasing him, I'm getting closer and closer to him. I can't see his hands no more. I got a problem. I can't see it no more. So I don't know if he's grabbing for something. I don't know if he's trying to destroy evidence. I know nothing like that. But I'm getting closer and closer to him. And there was a thought in my mind. Should I stop the chase, prone, get by something, and so on and so forth? That's a heavy, heavy, heavy determination you have to make, right?
You said you stop the chase and do what now?
And get behind something, because I don't know if he's going to turn around, pop off with a shot or two. I just don't know. Maybe I didn't search him properly.
All right, now,
what's your thoughts?
Okay, I got you. Okay, you said maybe you didn't search him properly, because I was going to say you did search him, but of course,
yeah, I did search him, but
okay,
you never know. In fact, I remember a time when I was searching. There was a bunch of us in the drug unit. We were searching someone, particularly a prostitute, and she was telling us in her ear, and she had her drug dealer boyfriends with her. She was like, "He got a gun in his fucking waist." Sure enough, my partners were checking him. They missed it. He was complaining he had a stomach ache, and so while he was bending over, the gun was trying to go ahead and stay in between his fupa and his waist. And it was the gun inside.
Listen, what you're saying.
You've seen that before.
What you're saying is totally logical. Now, there's this group of folks out there, there's some woke folks, attorneys or whatever. They always got a woulda, shoulda. Well, why did you think you know how they are. They're no longer concerned with what these guys do or what they're capable of doing. There's this pervasive thing. We don't care what they did. You shouldn't have done this. And of course, these folks don't put their lives on the line, and they're not dealing with violent people. They're great Monday morning quarterbacks, and they're the reason the crime is high now. But keep going.
Right. So we got a decision point to make. Hey, guess what? I got a guy who's slowing up, and I can't see his hands no more, and I got to make a decision. Do I go ahead and get cover of some sort of safety, or do I tackle the heck out of him? I choose to tackle the heck out of him. I was able to get him down onto the street. But guess what? When he went down to the ground, he still wouldn't give me his hands. And I'm trying my best to get his wrist to the back of his back. And so at this point, I start striking him. I could not get his wrist over. So I was able to finally do it after maybe 15, 20 seconds. That's a long time to let people know when you're in a type of struggle like that. That is a long time.
Yes. So you run in full speed.
Right.
I get it. I get it.
Right.
To the Monday morning quarterbacks, you're not tired, and you should be able to magically get their hands behind his back. But go ahead.
Right. So
Yeah.
I'm doing that, right? So it's able to get cuffed him up, and I sit him up. He's sitting on the street. And he looks roughed up. He looks roughed up. I would expect him to look like that. So we had two drug dealers coming down the street. They're seeing all the activity, and they love this, right? They're walking past, and they was like, "Oh, you killed him, yo!" And of course, I look back at them, and I was like, "You motherfuckers are next. Go!" And they left out. So at this point in time, I let units know exactly where I'm at this point. And the units go ahead and converge. And I had got the guy's key. I knew his car somewhere. And of course, I got to go ahead and hit it so I can figure out where his car is. Because I'm responsible now, it needs to go to City Yard at this point in time. So they said, go ahead and get that. It's right there. Go ahead and get it and do it. Beknownst to me, he was in worse shape than I thought. They went ahead and called an ambo. Now, the ambo is right down the street because we're right next to basically Johns Hopkins University Hospital. So as this point in time happens, I get there, pulled up with the car, and he's on the gurney, and they're working on him. All right, here goes. Tow truck guy comes. I give him the tag. All right, I'm out. The ambo's already at the hospital. I'm getting there in pursuit. I come into the garage, and I see the EMS coming out. And I said, how's he doing? He said, he's dead. Okay. Let me check. So I go in there. He's gone. And I'm like, oh, goodness. All right, here we go. So we got an in custody death. So I call the Sarge. I let him know, hey, guess what? I got an in custody death. You know, what do you want me to do? How you want to handle this? He's like, I'm going to have to go ahead and call 2300, basically homicide and internal affairs. Fair enough. Okay. So internal affairs get there before he does. He gets there, internal affairs there. Of course, I reserve my right not to say and make a statement, which I don't, protected under LOE BRs, and I don't make a statement whatsoever. Sarge comes up to me and he says, hey, guess what? You don't have to tell me anything either. I said, okay, not a problem, but I'm just letting you know this is the deal. All right. And he's like, all right. He's like, look, go home. Go home. Now, at this point in time, it may be 1 or 2 in the morning. Okay. I go home. Brother, I could hardly sleep, because I'm thinking that one of the strikes I put on this guy unalived him, right? So I'm at home, could hardly go to sleep, and my next shift is at 7:30, maybe 8 o'clock at night. I can't remember. All right. So nobody calls me. He was supposed to call me. My sergeant was supposed to call me. He didn't call me. So I get to the station house. I go down to my desk, and I'm filling out the paperwork of the incident the night before. And then all of a sudden, I see my sergeant coming down the stairs. He walks past me. He goes into the office. Doesn't say nothing to me. I was like, oh, shit, am I in trouble? What's going on? So I get done finishing up my sentence or two. I walked over there to him. I was like, Sarge, what happened? You didn't call me. Direct quote. Don't even worry about it, man. Don't even worry about it. They did. The ME went and took a look at him. Homicide went over to his house. Apparently what happened was this guy had a stent, 4 stents put in his heart a couple months prior. He was not to do any type of activity whatsoever. When he began running away from me, his heart basically exploded. What he was doing, he grabbed his hand and he was doing a death clench to his shirt.
And that's why when you were trying to pull it, you couldn't get it. Yeah.
I couldn't get it. I just could not get it. And thus, the strikes and the blows wasn't what caused that death on him.
Yeah.
And come to think about it, he also explained that homicide went to his house, and that's where they were able to find all of that. And of course, the ME corroborated that with the autopsy. Um, it was a defining moment because obviously perception, even what you may think, and even challenging yourself and second guessing the things that you did, if you did or what you were doing was right. And I think you know a little bit about that
Oh yeah,
as we talk
I know
about
a
these
lot
things.
about that. Listen, as you tell the story, it's a terrifying story. And let me tell you why. It's not terrifying because of what happened.
Mm,
It's terrifying because it's a matter of who's in charge, and it also matters who the prosecutor is. Who at one point y'all had prosecutors like the ones we got here in my county and Fulton County. And those people can turn anything into anything that they want to do. So a situation like that is any prosecutor can indict you for murder.
sure.
Yeah, they
Sure.
can just and they can say, well, you shouldn't have struck him. And the sad part about it is we train officers to do exactly what you did. And we tell them, well, if you can't get the hand, you train them, okay, you can strike and you can strike at this particular part.
Mhm.
But when it's on video, people don't know the training. They're looking like, oh my God, why are they striking the guy? He's just resisting or whatever. And then God forbid the guy dies, and without even knowing the cause of death, you already got somebody asking for your head or asking to indict you for murder. And then we have what I call a lot of Robert Ford prosecutors that are happy to do it because they believe that it's going to win them favor with the public, or they believe they can get an interview on the news and get some publicity. But, the sad part of what has happened is we're not supposed to give officers carte blanche to do whatever they want, but they do deserve some benefit of the doubt, and they also deserve the fact of intent. And that's why I was interested in legislation that would make willful intent mandatory, because they say willful intent, and there's a lot of things that there's not an intent to commit a crime, and you can't prove the intent, but people feel they know what you were thinking or what you were doing, and they have this judgment about, well, no, that's murder. There's people, if that's on video, they would assuage you murdered this guy when you really didn't. And what you got to look at is, what was the person's intent? Was it your intent to kill this person, or was it your intent to apprehend him? Were you doing what you were trained to do? And there's a lot of people will say, well, he didn't have to do that. Well, when you train a person that they have options to do A, B, and C, and then if they choose an option you don't like, you prosecute them. That's where we're at in the society now. And that's why we see a lot of officers getting prosecuted. And is there's this pervasive thing of, I don't care what this person did, you shouldn't have done this or that. I think we need to start caring what these people did, because some of the things that they've done is atrocious, and they created a circumstance for what happened, and that needs to be taken into consideration. It's kind of like what I was speaking about the other day about our school systems. When we took away the teacher's ability to defend themselves or discipline, and we say we don't care what they did, they're just kids. Okay, well, guess what? Kids kill people, they sell drugs, they assault other people. And now we got this thing where the teachers' hands are tied and they're being kicked, spit on, whatever. And now we've taken that same attitude towards law enforcement. And now they're encouraging people to fight law enforcement, to run from law enforcement. And we've got absolute chaos. And no matter what these people have done, if the officer takes action, everything they done is raced out the window, and now the officer is the villain, and he's someone that needs to be fired and prosecuted. Fortunately, when this happened to you, I'm not saying that wasn't going on, because it was, but it wasn't as pervasive as it is today. Today, you probably be facing indictment charges for murder, and then they'd have to figure out later that, hey, you have to go through this whole trial to prove that, hey, this guy died from a stent and he didn't die from the strike, because people would see the video, because there was no video there, and they'll be like, oh my God, and jump to judgment without seeing the totality of the circumstances.
Right. Right. And that's, it put me in it put me in an uncomfortable position for sure. And I think anybody who'd been in that position before would, particularly in custody deaths. Um, Particularly because there was force used, and there was a cavalier um thought, or even behavior by the sergeant to not even call me, and let me know what the deal was. I mean, it was just like pins and
L-
needles the whole
Let,
time.
let me tell you how bad it is before, because I know our time is running short. Right here in Atlanta, in Fulton County, the guy won't get out of a car. Two Atlanta officers. He's obviously DUI. There's a problem. He's being non-compliant. They finally get him out the car. One officer reaches for him. He slaps the officer's hands away. You and I know that's a sign that this guy's not going to go willingly. The other officer tackles him and arrests him. And when they get up, the guy is hopping because when he fell, he snapped or sprained his ankle.
Mhm.
The DA of Fulton County indicted him for aggravated assault. Now, if you look at the video, you could clearly tell that this guy didn't have the intent to break his ankle. It's not like he stood on his foot and pulled and said, "Hey, is the ankle broken yet?"
Mhm.
Sometimes people get injured in the course of falling. I've been involved in fights where we're fighting, and as we're falling, the guy's head hits the tip of a furniture. His head splits open. He's bleeding. It's not like I cut the guy or I tried to do anything. It's just that while we're fighting, he end up bleeding. Sometimes we fighting and we end up bleeding because our hand hit something or whatever like that. But to indict this officer for aggravated assault, which is the equivalent of attempted murder, that's the type of shenanigans prosecutors are playing now, and that's in officers are afraid to do their job. And when they're afraid to do their job, crime rate goes up. They either stop doing their job or they hesitate and they get hurt. It gives the criminals more control, and then they end up going and robbing and hurting other people.
Yeah. I think it was just important to bring out some stories that, definitely our audience that sees our show week in and week out, that doesn't have an appreciation for who we are and what we've done and some of the things that we went through. And I surely don't do many stories and sharing those. But when I do, I think it's impactful that we listen to those matters.
I
Um,
agree, but there's an argument that started earlier, and I hope we get to finish it.
yeah.
Quality of life works. I know that if you were one of my deputies, you would have been the main one complaining if I put you in front of a
Yes, it
drug
would.
house because you would be bored.
Yes, it would.
I've got, but that's another argument for another time.
Well, let's get back to quality of life. I'm not quite sure if that works everywhere. I think that there's a model of that can work in some places, but I can't see this working all over America, and especially where in Baltimore, where our individuals who dab in criminality have really good attorneys, and they're teaching them exactly how to go ahead and set up and do some of their criminality in their enterprise. So, I mean, you have an
It
idea.
works everywhere.
What you teach?
It works everywhere.
Okay.
You got to keep. I'll never forget. I was at a conference in Chicago, and they came in and they were talking about how we fight drugs, and they showed the 6 months operation, and there was about 20, 30 guys standing on the corner. And they had videos of them for 6 months, and then they finally got them. And I remember asking in the class, I said, "Hey, y'all don't have a loitering code?" And they said, "Yeah, we have that, but when we get a case, we want to make sure it's a good case so we can get them off the street for a long time." Okay, how many
I don't
aggravated
agree.
assaults?
Yeah.
How many women got harassed or had to walk across the street because they couldn't walk past 20 guys? How many folks got some bad drugs or whatever during that 6 months that you let 20 guys control a corner? You should have seen it. Nobody could walk without going through these guys. And if they were someone you didn't like, that wasn't it. You keep the corners clear.
I agree.
Six
Keep the
months of
corners clear.
crime
I'm with you
happened.
on that.
Right, right. So, they're not supposed to be there and they shouldn't be allowed to be there. That's 6 months that community has to suffer.
Okay, so
So,
you're talking about 20 guys on the corner, right? So what are
absolutely.
you going to do with 20 guys on the corner on on close to 98 to 105 corners.
You get overtime and you bring in enough people, or you call the president and get the National Guard. That's what you did.
That doesn't
Yeah.
exist. That doesn't exist now. And
Right, doesn't exist,
budgets.
but you get, yeah, but you that's what you got to do. You got to clear those corners. As long as they're there, it's dangerous.
Okay.
And if you enforce the little things, it stops. Let me tell you how important the little things are. It's boring, especially boring for high speed guys like you. I get it. You're a super cop. You join because you want high speed chases, you want big collars, but strategically on the chessboard. Let me tell you this. We used to have people call because somebody would pass through their yard
Mhm.
without permission. So they use their yard as a cut through and as a path.
Okay. Right.
And they couldn't. So what the police was telling them, well, ma'am, there's nothing we could do about that. Put up a criminal trespass sign. Okay, you put up a criminal trespass sign. Do you think they're really gonna pay attention to it? One guy, fortunately not in my county, but in a nearby, confronted a guy walking through his yard and got shot and killed. So when it's killed, so when you say, well, the stuff is minor stuff, we got other stuff to do. No, you don't. So when these people would call me, there's a thing called problem solving policing, but I don't think people really understand what that means. You got to be able to solve problems. So how do I solve the problem? Hey, get a deputy. What's the time that these people come through? They usually come through this time. Okay, he's gonna sit there about 4 or 5 hours. And anyone coming through that yard, he stops, he gets their name, he criminal trespass them, and then he comes back another time. If they come through again, he locks them up. It seems like,
Mhm.
well, that's a lot of work and a lot. No, it's not. These people's lives can be in danger. If they saying something to these folks, they don't know if these guys walking through the yards got a gun, their temperament, and they're paying taxpayers money and they want someone to do something about it. And when we tell them, well, ma'am, there's nothing we can do, there's always something we can do.
Well,
If
here's the
somebody,
argument. Here's the
right.
argument. You got 3,800 of us sworn officers descending on the east and the west side. Then you have on top of that, if and that manpower is not it's not enough. It's insignificant compared to the amount of drugs that are coming from the ports that's coming northbound from 95 that's coming up southbound on
If
95
those
to
guys
descend
can't
on the shit
stand on
like
the
that.
corner to sell the drugs, there's a problem. You sweep this corner, you lock all of them up for lottery. They can't sell drugs. Then you go to the next corner and you sweep it, and you keep the constant pressure. Cars got to pull up, four doors got to open with 4-man squad. Got to lay everybody on the ground, make sure they don't have guns or whatever. They've already been warned, don't be on the corner. They've got to know this corner belongs to, whether it's the Baltimore PD or the Clayton County Sheriff's Office. This corner belongs to us now. You got to go. That's the
I like
only
the
thing that
mentality.
that works. And that's why quality of life is so very, very important. It works. And it gives the people their streets back. You can walk in the store without being accosted with, hey, man, you want some drugs? Hey, whatever. It gives the streets back to the people. Whatever it takes, you got to do it. And then after you take that corner, you keep that corner.
Well,
Even if you've got to put a car there that just sits there, you take the corner, you lock up the 20 guys for loitering, then that car sits there long enough to secure it. And then if there's a break and they creep back, next thing they look, 4 or 5 cars are pulling up again, taking them out to where, you know what, man, that corner's too hot. We've lost that corner. You got to seize the territory and take it back.
I'm with you on 100% about that. But the level of criminality, it far exceeds that strategy. That's what I'm saying. It's just too voluminous. We don't have not one of the manpowers like that. And let's just say with your scenario, we did that and you pulled 4 of us and we locked down a particular corner. Okay. That's 4 officers down. Somebody's got to go ahead and arrest them and process them, right? So
Right.
the manpower's going down even further.
And
These
and
are
and and,
dumb criminals out
and
here.
you got to go
They don't,
to the mayor and you got to get the funds to do it, but it's not as hard as you think. And let me tell you why. It's called the magnifying glass theory. And actually, I learned it when I spent some time with the Jamaican police. They had this one area, I forgot the name of it. I think the drug dealer name was Chris Brown. They took over this area. They bombed a police station. It belonged to them. They had to get the police and the military to go in there and take it. And they concentrated everything in that area. And guess what? The crime rate went down for the entire country. Now, of course, Jamaican is an island. 3 million people live on it. Um, but the concept is the same. So if you look at my county, there was a particular area where the majority of the crime occurred. The Garden Walk Boulevard, Riverdale Road area is like the nucleus for the majority of the crime. There's other crime spots, but the majority of the crime happens in that area. We just had a young man murdered there. The first murder of the year happened in that area this year. I
Mm-hmm.
put all my forces there, and they were told to go there and stay there until I told them to leave. They were traffic enforcement,
Mm-hmm.
quality of life enforcement,
Mm-hmm.
everything. So if you're moving weight, if you're doing anything, your tag better be right on the car. The car better not be stolen. Your license better not be suspended because you're moving past flock cameras. You're moving past all type of stuff, and everyone's getting stopped or whatever. Do you know that year by doing that, the crime rate for the county went down because the majority of the crime was there. So you pick that area and you treat it like a magnifying glass, and you put the majority of your forces there and you lock it down.
It
And
will work that way.
exactly, that's how it
But
works.
whether it won't, here's my pushback on that. It
Uh-huh.
will work that way, and it will work for that little area.
No,
But
it
you've
works
been
for the
all
whole county.
you
Let me tell you why.
okay. But
The
you've been up
nucleus
hitting
spreads
grounds
out.
with us. You've seen the level of criminality.
I've
That's not
seen it.
happening.
I've seen it, and I'm telling you right now, I can come and stop it. If you study crime, there's a nucleus area, and the crime spreads out there from like cancer. And when you lock that area down and you taking those guys off the street in that particular area, it actually stops crime in other areas because those guys that may be their main area, but they fan out, or their drugs or their guns fan out from there. And when you suppress their drugs, you suppress their guns, you lock them up, it helps the entire region because everything fans out from there. It's just like if we had an area, I forgot what it was called. They called it a triangle or something where all the heroin was in Atlanta, or probably still is. But do you realize if you lock that down and shut that down, all of these deaths that we were having from heroin would have been suppressed because the majority of it was coming from there. It's the magnifying glass theory. You
Yes,
still got
and I
forces out there, but you take the majority. You still got your people out there answering calls and patrol, but you find out where the nucleus of the problem is. Where's the most criminals? Just like where the cancer is. And let's go in there and cut that cancer out. And by doing that, it stops. You save the whole body because it doesn't spread like stage 4.
I agree with you, and that will work in those concentrated areas. But when you have the level of criminality of and as large of an area of that city, it is you could go ahead and bust that one damn corner. You're not going to go ahead and do a dent to the other 104 corners that are as hot as
Yeah,
hell,
yeah,
and you're getting
yes,
them
you are.
all
It's not
over the
just that
place.
one corner. You're talking about putting flock cameras and road checks at different corners. Folks can't move in and move out without going past the police. You clearing the corners. It's just like what the National Guard is doing when they go into Memphis or DC. There's a presence where they can't even do anything.
Well, you got the ingress and egress of the waterways. You got the bus routes. They're coming in from the county to come back out of the county. It's just not that simple with a big population center like that area.
It's not simple, but it can be done if you take the manpower and use it correctly. First of all, you got a lot of people on any police force that's not doing jack. If you do
Yeah, yeah,
if you do a job thing of what everybody's job is, there's people in the building that when you look at their job, they're not doing nothing while a guy like you is risking his life for the complete 8 hours. Some of those jobs are non-existent. When I took over the sheriff's office, one guy said, "Okay, I'm Homeland Security. Okay, where are you looking for terrorists?" "No, I'm on the computer doing whatever." I said, "Listen, Osama bin Laden, he was still alive then, is not in Clayton County. If he is, I'll get the SWAT team and go get him. I don't need you doing this. I need you doing such and such." There's more manpower at every agency than you can imagine. In our county right now, if they still got it, they got about 9 people doing community policing, going to cookouts and doing programs. Take those 9 people and put them in front of drug houses and stop these folks from getting killed. It can be done.
no,
It's gonna take some reorganization. It's going to take, being thinking outside the box. But with what you got, and you can do it effectively, you could do it.
Mm.
One officer can watch 2 blocks if he's at that corner. If that car is at the corner with that light flashing, you've effectively, 2 cars can lock down 1 block.
Yeah. Not down in Baltimore, and that's why it is the way it is.
Yeah, well, get me that job as Baltimore commissioner, and I'll show you. It works anywhere. Let me tell you something. I could stop the shootings in Chicago, in the South Side of Chicago, not as the superintendent now.
Oh, okay. I'm about to say,
Right, yeah, not if I got folks telling me, hey, don't do this, you can't do that. Make me the sheriff of Cook County, and I will lock Cook County. I will lock the South Side of Chicago down. It works. Listen, I write about it in my book. There's 2 games that is war strategy: chess and Go. Go is an Asian game. Sun Tzu played it. Chairman Mao played it. That's how Sun Tzu won his battles. That's how Chairman Mao was able to take control of China after a long civil war. They did a study, and now both of my great games, I'm not putting one above the other, but every general that used a chess strategy, that fought a general that used a Go strategy, didn't win. Why? Because in Go, they control the territory. Chess, you're capturing the kingpin. And that doesn't work. We've been doing that for a while. Hey, there's a whole bunch of drug lords in jail right now. And a lot of them are running drugs in jail.
I agree.
We control the territory. Why was there no drugs in the jail when I was there? Because I controlled the territory.
And you can, because it's an enclosed area. You could do that. But
okay,
the whole entire out of control city
here now, and the guy claiming I don't have enough
because he's not controlling the area.
Because he's right, but he's not utilizing what he got effectively. He's saying I don't have enough manpower. I had less manpower than he did, and was able to control the territory. I can go to any department, and I can find a way to use that manpower to control the territory.
Mm-hmm. Well, you
don't even have to lock up a whole lot of people.
Right. It's not that I doubt you. It is more so the reality of a large populated city.
It's the reality of people who were in charge if you were there, because they didn't have the will or the know-how how to do it.
Okay. All right.
Right.
I just know that there are so many other complicated factors that go into this interweaving moment.
Complicated as politics. It can be done.
Well, there was nobody who wanted to go ahead and take care of that problem more so than the politicians, because that's every single thing that they said that they wanted to do to get rid of, and none of them could do it.
Right. If they were even telling the truth. But if they really wanted done, I know how to do it. And I wish Clayton County was built like a city block. Let me tell you something. There's a place called a Bluff. I could clear that up in 60 days. There's a place called a Bluff in Atlanta. Give me 60 days. Nothing will move in, nothing will move up.
Okay, fair enough.
And I may not even have to arrest anybody. I'm just going to lock it down.
All right, fair enough. Well, this is the debate that you wanted. So here you go, and you got it. So there's more to be had on this type of subject. So without further ado, we'll see y'all later.